Everyone, I'm Cerebral and this is Cerebral Talks TV, and today I have a very important discussion. Okay, and this is about racism. I've been talking a little bit more about it lately. Not everyone is racist in the world, but unfortunately, this is a real thing that does exist. And the topic today is about traveling as a Black person in places where they're not used to seeing Black people and they feel the need to keep questioning you. What do you do for work? You can afford this? Some people can be that bold, but usually questioning you. What do you do? The need to keep staring at you like it's a circus and just going overboard. Sometimes even bad treatment for people that work at the hotel that are supposed to be there to service you. All types of things. And in some cases, people are just being friendly because let's be honest, as a Black American, people are not always used to seeing us. That is a reality. People are not always used to seeing us, and they get surprised and they are intrigued and they want to have friendly conversation. That does exist, but sometimes people are not always asking questions because they want to be your friend. Some people are offended to see you certain places. Unfortunately, this is a sad reality in many parts of our world. And as you can see, the topic is unwanted attention I get as a solo traveler. This woman has traveled multiple places. So this has occurred multiple times to her and she's irritated by it. I was looking through the comments and I saw Black people talking about, traveling first class and business class, how people are in shock. Okay, assuming you work at a certain place and you don't even work there, or you do, but they're staring at you when you come in, wondering, do you live here? How can you afford this? Going to different countries, they're shocked to see a Black couple or just a Black woman, a Black man, and they live poor. These things do exist. This is a real thing. So I want to be quiet and I want to share her video of her experience as a Black traveler and the reactions. And I'm going to read the comments from other Black people sharing what they go through when people basically don't expect you to be able to afford what you can afford as a Black person. They don't expect it. They don't always like it, or they're just intrigued by it because how can you live this life? How can you afford this? You're Black. How is this possible? How is this possible, ma'am? Sir, how is this possible? What you doing here? What you doing here? And it's not just white people who do that. It's also people of other color who are not Black or white who also have those reactions. And in some cases, there are Black people who do this. There was a video, I wish I had it, where a Black woman went to some other country and the Black people who worked at the hotels didn't want her to go to a certain pool area. They didn't want that. Or asking her questions, how can you afford certain stuff? There was a Black woman who said that she travels to Africa and she's not anymore because when she was at the airport, the African people that work there pushed her aside so that the Europeans and Indians could get ahead of her, and she had the same amount of money and did everything they did. Certain things like that. There was another Black woman who said that she was treated horrendous at St. Kitts, the island, okay, where the treatment was terrible. People do that, and not all the time, but it does happen, and it's sad, but this happens. And I want you to share your stories in the comments section. Does this happen to you? Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. Here is the video. Unwanted attention I get as a solo traveler being Black.
White people are very intrigued by Black people who are in places that they don't assume Black people should be. Oftentimes when I'm traveling and I'm in 5-star hotels and I am to myself, white people not only are intrigued, but they want to have conversations with me. I travel solo for a reason, and the way people come up to me with curiosity, well, where are you from? So what do you do? It's almost like, for lack of a better term, it's almost like a circus to them. When I was at the Four Seasons in Bali and I'm at the chef's table dinner, someone at the table next to me wants to come over and start talking to me. When they see me alone, feel like they need to entertain me, when actually I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I'm good.
I know exactly what she's talking about. Now, there were comments with people, Black people and white people, saying, well, maybe people just want to be friendly to you, just want to say hello. I don't see any Black people around here. This is interesting, and really want to just get to know you and, what do you do and things like like that. Sometimes it is innocent, and especially if they know you're also American, and if they hear you speak. Now, if she's just sitting alone and they always have to come up to her because they're shocked to see her, I would say 50% of the time, I think it's racism, and 50% of the other time, I don't always think that. And let me tell you why. Something like this has happened to me where even one time I was speaking to this was a white man before. This doesn't always happen, but we were talking about a certain career he was in, and I was speaking very well, and I could tell by the look on his face. And he started asking me questions about, so what's your job history? Like, where did you work? And all these other certain questions he started asking me because he saw how well I was speaking. And I guess in his mind, he's like, "Oh, this doesn't sound like a regular black person here. You know, where did she work?" It's like, no, like you pick up on things like that, where people stereotype you. I told you the story of when I went to the flea market, and no, it was a thrift store, and I like that film, Great Expectations, with Gwyneth Paltrow. The soundtrack has a lot of opera, and there's a song I really liked, and I bought the CD. And before I purchased it, the white woman cashier eyes went up and gave me a look like, huh? Like, she's purchasing this? Like, lady, I don't just listen to R&B and hip hop. I listen to other music. I don't like being stereotyped. I cannot stand it. And you even get that in dating, when a white man might be interested, but he's scared because he assumes you only like black men. And it's like, you have no idea. I might actually think you're cute and was checking you out, but you think you know the black woman. I can't stand that. I can't stand those type of things. You don't know what I'm into, or they're surprised at where you live. I've heard about it, certain jobs that you have, and they see that you're the CEO or the owner, you're a manager, and they're like surprised to see it. So this has happened to her a number of times. That's why she's irritated. It's not just the one time or two time thing. Okay, you saw me, and you're not used to seeing black people. This happens to her a lot when she travels because they don't expect her to be there. I remember there was a content creator who was black who said he went to South Africa, and how they were shocked that a black man, black American man, was at a hotel in South Africa. The black people there were workers, and the fact that he could afford a hotel surprised them, even by the black people in Africa. So these type of things do happen, okay? And sometimes it's innocent, and they just want to spark conversation because no one else black is around. It's like, this is sort of amazing. And sometimes it is rooted in ignorance because they believe black people cannot afford to travel to Bali. Black people cannot afford to go to Dubai. Y'all are supposed to be the lowest of the low on the planet, the brokest people on the planet. Everyone know, yes, globally, we can be the poorest sometimes, but in America, there are black people who do make six figures in certain areas and states. It's not uncommon whatsoever. In places like Maryland, it's not as uncommon as people think. And don't get me wrong, do we have a number of black people who live in the hood and low income? Yes, but there also are a number of black people who do travel and are doing well, especially a number of black women. I see them on TikTok all the time. And you don't have to be super rich to travel. Just manage your money right if you make decent money. One of the women that I showed, she's a nurse. If you're an RN, you can easily travel places. The LPN, you could travel, save up your money, you know? So, I mean, you can take a trip once a year if you want to, but people get surprised. So, let me read to you some of the comments from other black people's experiences, especially black women, mainly black women a lot, experiences with this type of stuff going on, with people assuming things are being surprised. Okay, this is a man. I'm not going to name if they're men and women. Let's just read these black people. So, what do you do for a living? How can you afford to be in the same place that I can afford to be? They want to know what door you came through so they can figure out how to close it. In some cases, and it's not always just white people who question, it's other races of people who are not black or white who also get surprised when they see black people certain places. Okay. They want, us to validate our presence. It's the how did you get here type of vibe. That definitely sadly exists. Listen, I'm a human being. I feel like I should be able to go to anywhere I want to go on in the globe. Okay? I should be able to go anywhere I want to go in the entire world. I am not a slave. Slavery has been over for a minute, and I'm a free person. I'm a human being. I'm a human being of the world, and I should be able to see the world. And there are plenty of black people who are traveling, but I have to say, it's usually a lot of Nigerians. Usually, when people meet black people in so many countries, a lot of times they are African or Caribbean, but especially African, and a lot of them tend to be Nigerians. Nigerians travel everywhere. That's one thing I can say. As black Americans, I think they get even more surprised when you're black American, okay, in certain places. All right. They said, whenever I go out for dinner, at a nicer restaurant, I always get, so what are you celebrating? You know what? I had something similar happen when it wasn't a Friday, but I was shopping around the shopping area, and I went to treat myself to something to eat, and I had my bags and I got a drink and I got something to eat, and the waiter, sometimes the waiters can be jealous because they're not making much money, and here you are, you come in and they see you with your bags and buying food, and you don't have a man, especially you're doing this all treating yourself, and then they start asking you these questions or like giving a surprise look. I'm like, this is nothing to me. This restaurant is not even high end to me. This is just a regular restaurant to me. But just the fact that you can afford to go treat yourself to something to eat, and you don't need a man, and you have bags with other stuff, that can really they you can notice it sometimes, the taken aback or the jealousy when they see that. Sometimes, not all the time, but I have experienced that before. Okay, so he says, I always say dinner. When they ask me, what am I celebrating? I always say dinner. They assume I saved up to be there for a special occasion. Okay, yes, even in academia. And it's always the older ones who waited years slash retirement to travel, so they don't understand how I'm young and I'm doing it, especially solo. I pretend not to speak English when I can. I straight up tell folks I'm relaxing and I don't want to chat. Thanks. They think you must be famous or important. That does happen a lot, especially I will see them yelling out in Egypt or in China, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, stuff like that. They think you must be famous or important. I went to Mexico on my honeymoon and I got stares when they realized I speak fluent Spanish. Some were amazed and others were disgusted. Me, whenever I was in Tiffany and the person behind the counter, they asked me, what did I do for a living? Ma'am, put my necklace in the bag, in the box, and in the bag. Okay. It equals, who told you that you could leave the plantation to me? They had no problem seeing us in luxury spaces as long as we were the help. We know who they mean when they say they. No, I do not assume all white people feel this way, but unfortunately, there are some who do, especially older, from the older generations. Not saying some young ones aren't like that, but you get what I'm saying. All right. I booked a 9-day group tour in South Africa. Affordable, by the way. I felt like they were stumbling over themselves trying to figure out what I do for work. I told them I was an adult entertainer. They act like monitoring spirits. I sat in first class and a flight attendant lady goes to the intercom and says, please make sure you're at your assigned seat, and looked at me real quick and kept repeating it, and I just sat there smiling, looking at her. Oh my God. It just doesn't make sense. We're grown people. Like, get a life. I just think racism is weird. Why do people care about other people who look different? Different skin tones, different phenotypes, different tribal wear, different religion. Like, why does it bother people within their soul? Who gives a crap? Just sit down. Who cares? It's just weird. I find racism to be a mental illness. It's just weird. I never disliked someone just because they were different or assumed what they could and could not afford. It's craziness to me. Okay, same. When I tell them I'm a stay-at-home mom, they're even more triggered. Oh yeah, because they definitely don't think a black woman could be a stay-at-home mom, and unfortunately, a good portion of us aren't usually. So it is surprising to a number of people, and sometimes they have the stereotype. If they see you with your children, they might assume you're a single baby mama and you might be married, until they look and see your ring on the finger. Okay. There's a theory that states people are more attractive when they're alone because other people have a hard time being by themselves. I feel you, but I encourage all of us melanated people not to look at this as a circus, but as a masterpiece. You are being the masterpiece. Embrace it. I work in a five-star restaurant. When coming in, people stare at me until they see I'm their chef. Oh my God. When someone asked me what I was doing somewhere, I once told them I own the place and I'm looking to expand. Okay, it's their lack of accomplishments and regrets that cause resentment, aka the intrigue. 100%. Great discussion, especially if you have an education and credentials. It drives them crazy. It's with everything. I moved to a wealthy neighborhood in Maryland and I was asked my occupation. I was promoted and was asked what school I went to. It can be aggravating sometimes. It happens to me when I travel as well. The same thing in my exclusive neighborhood. They wonder how I got behind this private gated community. Facts. We live in Costa Rica, and the looks we get when we are in the tourist location, like they're wondering how we got there. See, this is why black people got to keep going and you got to keep doing your thing to break these stereotypes and just to keep doing your thing. Let them keep getting upset, the people who are racist. My husband and I were in first class on the plane. They always ask me, "Is this your seat?" Like, obviously. It happens to me all the time. First business class flights, I've had FAs trying to move me, the flight attendants trying to move me. At nice hotels, I've been interrogated by strangers and given dirty looks when they realize I don't work there. And when they follow you to see what kind of car you drive, I spent $400 at the pet store and got followed out. Regular car, but I don't have a car payment. That's why I drop money like that. My goodness. You know what? I've experienced this too. I feel it like I was paying a bill somewhere. And I always dress nice when I go to my appointments and just outside, period. And they'll ask things like, "Oh, are you off today?" I mean, I get small talk, but sometimes I can catch things too. Like they're wondering like where I work and stuff like that, or oh, you must be. Let me stop. I can't fully explain what I'm trying to say, other than the interrogation or wondering how I could afford the bill, something like that. Look, I know what I'm talking about. And I have experienced certain things like this before. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So this is so true. We stayed at a five-star and triple diamond rated resort on a regular basis, and someone had the audacity to ask my husband what he did for a living that allowed us to be here for a week. I don't have to tell you a damn thing. But people will say it nice. They'll say it nice. Okay, woo, this is it. And then the moment we say we are doctors, good Lord, I'm like, act like you've met someone before, please. Yeah, because they don't often run into black doctors. Could it ever sometimes be that they just want to have friendly conversation with you? That's true too sometimes. It's true. In the spas, I get the look. At the spa, also as a plus size woman, they talk about my weight. People, man, Lord. I experienced this when my family visited Bora Bora. Everyone stopped and stared everywhere we went. I moved to a luxury building and the tenants look at me with a look of disapproval. Some turn their noses up at me when I greet them in passing. Ain't nothing worse than a nasty hater. Black people are ridiculous. This is okay. He said, Black people are ridiculous. You move to white countries, demand to be included in our media, businesses, systems, and make TikToks crying about white people. No other race does this. Oh my goodness. So there were people who responded saying, well, y'all are in South Africa, which is a predominantly black place in countries that's black. And I do have to admit, I don't often see Indian, Arab, Asian people always making complaints about white people, but demanding to be the equal rights and be included and stuff. But some of them are also treating black people that way. And some of them do go through racism with white people as well, but they're not as vocal about it as black people are. So I didn't know how I felt about that comment right there because half of it is a little bit true and half of it is not completely true. But I don't think black people should be quiet about injustice and people mistreating us as black people if that happens to you. So saying, okay, you want to be included in the media, you want to be included in business, integration, equality, working with us, and then talk about us. Yeah, but they're talking about it when it's racism. Not all everyone's just saying these things just to sound like a complainer and the race card game and everything. These are real stories and real things that happen, but you don't have any empathy because you're not the one who's experiencing it, who's going through it, you know. That video I just made about should we even hide our faces when we have a black owned business, there was a white person in the comments section who said, I wasn't even aware of this. This is my, my white privilege. I was not even aware. I don't even have to think about hiding my face for my own business, like someone who's black or Indian people and stuff. You don't hear about nobody not buying from them because they're Indian. But, with black people, this happens. And they're like, I never even thought about this because I didn't have to. So these are real things that happen. This is a real discussion. So, okay, let's go on to the next comment. I got the same reaction in Egypt. It's just amazing because, I had VIP treatment, but they were puzzled. Well, Egypt is a land. Yes, they're African. Yes, they have brown skin, a number of them as well. But a lot of them are poor over in Egypt. And the reputation that we have, they think of hip hop, they think of drug selling, they think the things you hear, even though we don't live in Africa and different parts of Africa, some of them look down on the other Africans and stuff. So they're shocked. They're like, how are you making it? I'm suffering over here. How do you have all this money? Okay, how are you living luxury in my country and you're black? Black is supposed to be the lowest of the low, and you coming over here to see the pyramids in luxury, and I have to be your guide and all this. What? That's why I said, some foreigners feel a certain way when they do your feet because in their country, they would try to make you their slave, but they come over in America where it don't work like that and they have to serve you. And it's really insulting to a number of them because they look down and would think you are supposed to be doing my feet, not the opposite, And I'm not saying they all feel like that. And I know that not all Egyptians feel like what I said because I dated an Egyptian. He was very proud to be African. He loved black women. And, what can we say? What can we say? I mean, these things do happen. Don't get me wrong. He did have a few issues, I think. But I'm saying he was proud. He always said he was African. Before he said he was Egyptian, he's like, I'm African. He was proud to say he was African. And but unfortunately, this is a global mentality. People associate being black with being the poorest and the lowest of the damn low because globally, our race, not ethnicity, race, globally are known not to have what other people have. The men are not building like the other men. The money, the resources, everything is just in shambles. So they're surprised when they see you. And the treatment can change too, because I talked about it in the videos. The more blacker you look, the stronger some of them can be racist towards you. Those things, I mean, this is a real thing that happens globally. Okay. So, all right, watch them look at you when you fly business class. I keep hearing this over and over. Somebody in the comments section, do you fly business class? And what has been the reactions that you get from people? Okay, it's like they are seeing a ghost when I fly business class. Been there when I was younger. They often ask me if I was traveling because are you in the service? Is that why you are traveling? They want to know what you do that earns you money. My mom taught her trick. Fast fire personnel questions. Okay, basically ask them the same questions back and then they'll back down off of you when they start doing this to you. Okay, so that's basically it for this video. Are you a black person when you travel? Do people always have to come up to you and ask you, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Do they stare at you? Do they give you nasty and crazy looks? Do you fly first class, business class? Have you had someone try to accuse you of being in the wrong seat? Do you travel to other countries and people stare at you in complete disbelief or disgust? Or do some people act overly friendly and want to know what in the HEL, what in the world are you doing here? Hold on, what am I seeing right here? A black person? You're a black American? Hold on, what? How you afford this? How do people treat you that work at the hotel? No matter what their race is. Tell us your stories in the comments section. Where do you live? Do you live in a gated community? Do you live in a nice area? Do people get surprised when you speak well? Do they get surprised when you're the manager, the CEO, the business owner, the teacher? Are they surprised at your salary when you go to cash your check and the money that you have? Okay. Tell us and don't hide and tell us what was some of the ethnicities of the people because it's not always just white people who do that. So let us know. And what I can say is that black people continue to get your education, continue to get your money, continue to travel because the world has to get used to it. Okay, so we're no one's slave, baby. Slavery been over, and it's time to upgrade. The race got to upgrade. Okay, it shouldn't be shock and everything for people to see you being able to afford what other people can afford. Okay, this got to stop. So, and travel for yourself. Don't let anybody take away your joy. Enjoy your life. And before you travel anywhere, I do recommend you look at videos of various black people to see the experiences if they tell you what happened because you don't want to go to places that are dangerous for you. That is facts. Okay? You don't want to go to places that's unsafe and not very welcoming. Find out what is going on in the countries. What is the race relations like in the country? Do they have tribal wars in the country? Do they have religious wars in the country? If you are a part of the LG, you know what? Do they approve of that in their country? You have to find out all these things when you travel. What's the safety like for women? All these type of things. Does it have a high amount of certain traffic type of things that go on? Find out before you go places, okay? And don't let anyone take your joy away. I'm pretty sure it can be annoying. You can tell she's annoyed. She just wants to be in peace and travel and be happy. But every time she goes out, people are always shocked to see her because she's a black woman and they want to question her in some type of way. So that is all for this video. I thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Get those likes up. It does affect the algorithm. And if you are new, please click the bell for all notifications so you know when I'm live and when I'm uploading, and check out my shorts. Thank you all so much, and everyone is welcome here. Please let us know what you think in the comments section. Bye, everybody.